Rees and Ash wound up claiming their class championships after an intense season. But a few alterations have changed the landscape and may just offer up an edge to someone else in the field. Will today look any different to last season? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the PRL Sportscar series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Nürburgring's GP course isn't quite as famous as the Nordschleife next door, so just in case anyone needs a refresher, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Monza. This track has a major place in racing history, not just for the legendary races, names, and cars that have been here, but because it was the third purpose-built car racing circuit in the world. It's often discussed and reverenced among fans, and it's Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the Ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing. Well, DJ, we're back again for a new season, but we've got a little bit of a slightly different format. How do you think that's going to work with these same two classes, the LMP2s and the GTEs?
Well, Joe, I think it's going to make everything a little bit more fast and furious, and especially at a circuit like the Nürburgring, that's going to make for some very, very intense action. Now, this track is really going to favor these LMP2s. There's a lot of fast-flowing corners that they'll be able to really maximize the downforce on the car, and so watch for them to really pick up speed and be able to press an advantage over those GTEs, maybe in the Michael Schumacher S, also going through the Michelin curves and things like that as they build it on. Now, as any car that you drive around this circuit, the main areas to keep an eye out for excellent overtaking is going into the Haug Hook, that turn 1, and then the fight back you're able to get through the Mercedes-Benz Arena. We've seen some passing take place down into the Dunlop curve, although that's not usually as much, but the biggest thing that these guys are going to have to watch out for is that final chicane. Now, there's always a couple of variants that you can run. We are running the tighter version here today, and that's really going to slow everybody down into a single file processional order through that chicane. You can get a good draft pass done there if you're able to get enough done on the straightaway, but going through too wide, not going to be easy, but that corner will be crucial to set up a run on the pit straight to try to get a pass into the Haug Hook.
We'll get to that racing in just a moment. Before we do, we want to remind you that today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
The PRL Le Mans Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So let's take a look at how last year's championship wound up with the drivers, starting with the LMP2s. And Felipe Ruiz was 26 points ahead of Herbino. And of course, Herbino, if he hadn't had those penalty points, would have been our champion. It was would have been about 4 ahead. So it would have been tight, though. It definitely would have kept him on his toes. Still behind them, you've got Karl Modhoff, who finished in third with a very, very close battle down to the last bit between Owen Watts and Christian Eisler, and like 3 points between them in fourth and fifth. Looking at the GTE Championship, it was Stephen Ash who finished ahead of Michael Ross by only 9 points. And it was Utman Alawi who finished back in third. He was in it till very close at the end, but just couldn't get himself high enough to try and challenge, and had to settle for P3. 42 points back was Rafael Russo, and Tyler DeZube, a distant fifth, 63 back from our leader. What about the team's points in each of the classes?
Well, Joe, in that LMP2 team standings, you can see Punto CL Racing able to pull out a very, very narrow victory over Delta Sport U4K, and those two teams really in a class all to their own last season. NinjaTrader LMP2 a whopping 275 points back of Punto CL, but they were dogged through most of the season by Final Lap Team Yellow, with Torque Freeze Racing finishing about 150 points behind them. And as we switch over to those GTE standings for last year, you can see Frozen Speed Full Send Racing, well, they were able to take the victory there by a pretty healthy margin over RSR by G Performance, but Vector by RSR so close on them for a lot of the season, only finishing 3 points adrift. SRT Esport Green, well, they were back in fourth, a little bit out of touching range of Vector, and then SimRacing Premium, they finished back in fifth.
Now, for today's race itself, you got to pay attention, even if you've been watching all last season, because it's round 1 out of 10, same cars and both the same classes. But look at that, 15 minutes shorter for today's event. And it is open setup as it was before. And also, they have fewer incidents that they are allowed before they get penalized. Only 10, and they will get a drive-through. 15, and they'll be disqualified. They are expecting everybody to be super clean out there today and for the whole season. There's the bonus points that they're competing for at the bottom, which includes the bonus for pole position. And qualifying has just kicked off. They each get 4 laps within 10 minutes to try and set their quickest time. We're still waiting for the first one to hit the board, as I think most of them are actually just starting their first timed laps.
They are indeed, and the way that this series does run it is that they have 2 separate qualifying sessions for the LMP2s and the GTEs. Those LMP2s out on track right now. It's a good mix in this this top class of some of the returning big names, as well as some old names that we haven't seen for a while, Joe.
As we ride on board with Dunnigan, someone we haven't seen in the Tuesday series for quite some time. Glad to see him join in again as he works his way through just the last few corners here, down towards that final chicane. Let's see what he's got underneath him in that 899. This will be a good view of just how tight that final chicane is in this layout. You'll see him have to brake hard, and there, look at that. Love this angle from Dougie Beard and just how slowly he has to navigate it.
Yeah, and it's as I talked about, that's really a 1-lane track through there. So there goes Dunnigan running a little bit wide there. That may be a little bit of an off track for him, but we're starting to get times coming in right now.
Yeah, it was an off track, as that one did not count for Stacy, unfortunately. Mauricio Cuero holds the provisional pole, but that is of the slight few that we've seen come across the line in the LMP2s. Now we're starting to get a few of them and the GTEs as well. Jennifer McDonald's a new face here in this series. Was up to the front row briefly, now down to fourth as more times come in.
And there you see Thomas Cope crossing the line. He's going to be third right now in that GTE category. We now watch Eisler, driver who was a bit of a yo-yo last year, would start very well and then fall back through the field. He's going to be provisionally sixth right now, but he's got some more time to go out there and try to set a new one.
Watching Nunez now as he takes it through that last chicane, and certainly looked like it was on edge as he had to catch a bit of a slide through there. Now off the final corner. What is he going to have underneath him? The number 6 puts in a 1:44.689. That'll be good enough for fourth place, just outside the second row. Espinoza up next, and his first lap, unfortunately, another one that found an off track.
And the Nürburgring, not one that's normally known for a lot of really tough off tracks, but I think a lot of drivers are getting caught out coming around the Coca-Cola chicane, running it a little bit wide. We ride on board here with the 925 as he makes his way out of there. Let's see if he's able to keep everything nice and collected. He is indeed. So here he comes to the line. Where is this Canadian driver going to finish? That's going to be a 53.4, good enough for 15th place.
Guerrero on his second lap goes even quicker. He is 0.6 of a second of Horatio Calquin, and that's after Horatio is also. This is looking very good for Mauricio in that 79. He has some incredible pace. It's much tighter down in the GTEs, where Russo is only 6/100ths ahead of Skworek.
Yeah, it's going to be very close there. The closest back to them, Michael Ross, is about 0.5 back, but do not count him out. He had a very good run here last season. Still the only guy really running that Ford GT, although it looks like Kwok Min is also going to be joining him this year. We now follow Christian Eisler as he crosses the line, and he is able to improve with a 44.6. That'll bump him up to 7th place.
I can tell you that Michael Ross also improved, but not enough to take a position. So he'll stay in P3. In fact, he just went to the pit, so I think he's going to come back around and try for one final flyer. His third lap will count as his out lap. Trepanier, as he crosses, looks like he is still in 14th despite improving up to a 52.9. And I love, as some of the other drivers I've seen point out, Vincent actually has a player's special livery, kind of in tribute to Greg Moore, I believe.
There was a little debate right before the race if that was Tagliani or Carpentier or Greg Moore, but I think either way you slice it, I am fully in favor of it as you see that really good looking livery work its way around the track.
It fits on a Ferrari. Not a color you typically associate with a Ferrari, but it fits. So we'll keep an eye on him to see how he fares. And 10th place done again. For the third lap, it's not going to be faster. Half a second off of his quickest time, unfortunately. Next one is Caraballo, who is in 4th after 2 laps completed. He stays out for this third one. He'll get one last try if he so chooses. With about 2.5 minutes left, that'll be plenty to try and improve. And it does look like that was a slow lap, so maybe that was an out lap for him.
Follow back here, watching Jennifer McDonald, currently in 8th place. Looks like that lap did not count for her. That's a little bit disappointing. Here comes Arnaud Genet across the line, unable to count. Michael Plord coming across now. That's another one of those great players' liveries as he's going to start a new lap, currently 17th.
I think a lot of drivers are starting to take the strategy of do 2 laps, go back into the pits, gets fresh tires, and reset the fuel. And Russo just improved and put himself farther away from Skworek. It's now nearly 0.3 between 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, that's a big gap for Russo to be able to hold on to. Here comes Nunez across the line. That's going to be his best run, it looks like, or thereabouts. Cope coming across the line, that's going to be last for him, so he's going to slow it down.
Guerrero on his final flyer. The 79 already has half a second. Well, he's going to band it in anyways. He feels that safe. What about Calquin, who sits in 3rd? He has 0.6 to make up to overtake Mauricio for the pole. As he crosses, it's not going to be faster, so he is not going to challenge him. I think Caballero has one more, but he looks slow out on the track, so it doesn't appear that he'll be able to take this pole either.
As here we watch Arsenault coming across the line to see if he can improve from that 19th place position. He is able to improve by just a couple of hundredths of a second. That's not going to bump him up. Ben Laughter, newcomer to the series. He mentioned earlier how excited he was. He's not going to take that final lap, but we watch Jennifer McDonald now coming around that Coca-Cola curve.
Yeah, Laughter jumping from usually where we see him in the Camel GT series. McDonald's, who sits in 8th. Is this going to be any better? No, it's not, sadly. Jennifer will stay on the outside of row 4. Eisler, looks like he abandoned his last lap. So we've got O'Donnell Lines, and Lowendick now crossing for their final flyers. Lowendick doesn't improve, and it doesn't appear that O'Donnell Lines does either. What about Kwok Ninh?
Then he's going to be coming across the line in that pink Ford, unable to improve on that lap, about 0.2 of a second slower. But that's not going to be enough, and that's going to be the end of the session, Joe.
A few drivers missed out on that 4th lap, unfortunately. So that brings us to our qualifying order here for today, the opening round. And it's not the biggest field we've seen in the prototypes. Probably good news for our GTEs, with Mauricio Cuero starting on the pole and Eduardo Garcia in second. It'll be Horatio Calquin in P3, followed by Ronnie Nunez in 4th, and Moises Caraballo will be on the inside of row 3. Christian Eisler starts 6th. Jeffrey Ooms returns to the series. Let's see if he's just as fast. He'll start from 7th. Nicholas Bornand will be P8, and Dave Duino in 9th. Tiensai Layton will be in 10th, and the next slide has Stacy Kyle Dunnigan in 11th. Andre Espinoza starts 12th. The last of the field in the prototypes will be Ben Laughter in 13th.
Rafael Russo and his Ferrari are going to kick off our GTE field with Don Squarick behind him, or to his outside rather. Michael Ross will be starting off in 3rd, followed by EJ O'Donnell Lines in 4th. Thomas Cope will line up 5th in class, followed by Ted Lowendick. Good qualifying there from Teddy. James David will line up 7th in class, and to his outside will be Jennifer McDonald in 8th. Jean Quad Langlois will be in 9th, followed by Arnaud Genet in 10th. Luis Palm is going to be 11th, followed by Diego Morez in 12th. Gabriel Lavdier will be in 13th, followed by Vincent Trepanier in 14th. Jerome Bethune will be 15th, followed by Lou Barretto in 16th. Behind them, Michael Ploward will be lined up behind David Flanagan. Patrick Arsenault will be in 19th, followed by Marc-Andre Desjardins in 20th. And then Philippe Magnin and Kwok Ninh will make up the back of the field.
As the last of them line up on the grid, I think Calquin will be the final car that we're waiting up on, and we should be good to go behind that Porsche pace car. Again, a new season, and the points are all reset. There's going to be some hungry drivers, but we don't have Felipe Ruiz or a Stephen Ash here today, which means neither of our champions are going to be able to defend. It is wide open for all of our fast drivers, both returning names and our drivers who have been here for a while.
It will be, but as is always the case in this series, it is going to be absolutely incredible action. Watch out for these LMP1s to catch, or LMP2s to catch up to the field of GTEs probably in a couple of laps, so that traffic going to be very good to keep an eye on.
Ferrero waiting patiently. He's giving a lot of space to the pace car. Let's see when he'll take the green flag, as he's got a lot of anxious drivers behind him looking to go, and he is off. Green flag is out. Cuero has a 3-wide battle behind him. Garcia, Nunez, and Caraballo. Moises is going to back out of that one. Nunez down to the inside. Can he manage to get himself into second? Way wide on the outside of the turn. Garcia loses out more positions, but now we got to go to the GTEs.
Well, in the GTEs, Rafael Russo got a mega jump on the field. Squirrek able to line in behind him. The top 5, 6, 7, 8, everybody pretty much single file there as they line in. But Squirrek and Russo starting to pull out a little bit of a gap here to Michael Ross. Ross, in turn, has the Donald Lines hot on his heels trying to challenge for that 3rd position.
Oh, we've had an accident in the LMP2s. Caraballo gets shoved off. We'll go back to the replay, and I think Nunez... Look at him try and get it going before those GTEs come through. There has been a whole lot of fighting for this second position. You can see Nunez still has Ooms behind him, already up from 7th on the grid to 3rd now. Garcia under attack from Duino, and they're going to go side by side through the Schumacher S.
Oh, that's very brave this early in the lap. Oh, and there he goes around.
Everybody scatters to avoid him. He thankfully doesn't hit anything else, but I think he's also going to get caught by these GTEs pretty soon. Yeah, in fact, they're just approaching a few of the leaders. Also going at the front of them. But look at how close Squirrek is to that number 22, making sure to keep him honest.
He's doing a very good job of just trying to fill up Russo's rear view mirrors. They're doing absolutely everything he can, not letting him slip away too much. They're now going to dive down into that very, very tight chicane that we talked about. So there he goes. He's going to want to make the move. This is the best place to do it. He takes a lot of curb there. That car was fully up on 2 wheels.
Garcia was almost trying to go past them, but then got held up through the chicane. He's just trying to get back past all these GTE cars so that he can try and catch his own class. There you can see him diving in and out amongst the top runners, but he's not going to get past everybody down into the first corner.
No, he is not. Ooh, little bit of a crossover move there for Squirrek. If he wants it, he's going to try around the outside of that Mercedes-Benz arena. He's going to have a little bit more of a run. No, he's going to think.
Wow, ambitious move into the latter half of the Mercedes arena. Thankfully, he doesn't have any drivers behind him trying to challenge. All he has is Garcia, who's still patiently waiting for a clean pass. Now he is through. Still needs to overtake Russo. Is this Rafael? Give another shot. Oh, he's going to sneak inside. A little bit of a bump to the side. Squirrek has a great opportunity. He takes advantage. He's got his nose ahead, but it's not done. The Dunlop hairpin. Can he complete the overtake? Yes, he's got it.
That is absolutely terrible luck there for Rafael Russo, and look at what it's done. It's allowed for Michael Ross to catch up as well. So now your top 5 really running line astern. Ross with a full head of steam coming out of the Schumacher S.
Michael missed out on the championship last season. I'm pretty certain he wants it this time. And our top, it looks like 6, top 6 drivers in the GTE class are all in a train as we get ready to complete lap 2.
They are just running super, super close here. It looks like now that Squirrek's able to be out in front, he's able to gap ever so slightly. They're going to Constantina under braking. There you can see Cuero, though, starting the fastest lap of the race on P2s.
Let's see if anything happens down into the Haug hook. That hairpin offers lots of great opportunities. Squirrek ahead of Russo, taking advantage of the action going on around him. But as they start to pick up speed, doesn't seem like anybody's quite close enough. So I think they're all going to stay put in the order that they were. I think we've got a chance now. Can we take a look at what happened with Caraballo on that first lap when he and I believe it was Nunez came together? To be fair to Nunez, I think he got squeezed off a little bit from what I could see. This happened into Valvoline, so this is after the Mercedes arena that you'll see it happen. But still, look at this, 3 wide into the first corner just about.
Very, very brave to do that, Joe. That's such a tricky corner. That sudden drop off in elevation right after the apex really installs the car. So there you see that's Nunez and Ceballo. They're going 2x2 through the Mercedes-Benz arena. They're going to continue this fight. Ooh, that's an aggressive look up the inside from Nunez. That gives Ceballos a chance to fight back here. So here they go.
Oh, yeah. It does appear that Caraballos just kind of didn't leave him enough space, and that's why he went flying. Man, I bet he's happy it's a modern F1 track, as he had so much runoff. In the meantime, Caraballo is also still trying to get back past all of these drivers, and he still hasn't quite done it. Oh, he's making a headache of a day for Rafael Russo, and also checking up the likes of Michael Ross. O'Donnell Lines on the outside of him as he's got Cope looking to his inside. Neither of them can manage to make the pass through there.
Not able to make the pass quite yet, but I would not be surprised if we see a little bit of action there. A lot of flashing up the lights from Rafael Russo. I think he knew that he messed up some of the competitors there. Looks like everybody's going to be relatively calm going down into the Hauk Hook. Nobody making too much of a move quite yet. Still have just under 40 minutes to go, so these drivers know they've got some time to just sit back and wait, but not nearly as much as we did last year.
This is still where one of our closest battles is. Essentially for second place, though, it looks like Moises going through a loud Squirrek to get himself plenty of comfort zone. Although that might be going back, as you can see Caraballo going inside of him, down through Valvoline. Still hasn't completed the pass as they go through Ford. Cost him a little bit, but I wouldn't say that Russo is threatening yet.
No, he still has that gap at over a second, so that's going to be pretty crucial for him there. Everybody in these GTEs, they're running incredibly close, but nobody going too crazy and trying to make an overtake. They're just waiting for the best opportunity to arise, playing a little bit of the head game that we always like to talk about, Joe.
Well, let's step away from this then and check back in on some of our leaders in the LMP2s. Jeffrey Ooms has been chased by Duino. And he, for a brief while, was very close to Nunez, is behind them. I just heard the alarm go off. I think that's Espinoza in pit lane. Not sure what that is for.
I'm not either, Joe. I think about 35 minutes to go is what the effective pit window would be. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of damage to the car, so I'm not sure.
Well, Mauricio Cuero certainly has a handy gap up at the front of all of this. Duino starts to fall away from Ooms, so no need to stick with that. Nunez has some work to do to try and make his way up forward. He qualified in fourth, so I wouldn't expect him to have the pace for Mauricio, but you never know, especially with the chaos that tends to happen in these multi-class series.
Exactly, Joe. I mean, we can remember last year when these drivers were out on the Nürburgring, just how much chaos we saw, specifically, surprisingly, going into the hairpin. A lot of side-by-side bumping happening, and I think that can certainly happen here once again if we're not careful.
Let's head back to that battle for third in the GTEs. I think Ross is getting himself a lot more room than he wanted, as O'Donnell Lines is ahead of Russo. Actually, wasn't Russo in second last we looked? What happened here?
I'm looking back on it right now, Joe. I think there's a chance that Russo got a slowdown penalty. He was very, very slow coming down the main straight and let Ross and O'Donnell Lines by him.
Well, he's trying to make up for it because EJ is not defending, and as they head into turn 11, he gives them space, but the outside line works well. Rafael Russo is going to have to try again. That's checking up all of them back there. Cope and Lowendick still lined up waiting for a good opportunity. Not forthcoming yet.
No, and Russo's going to have to be aware of that, although he looks to go to the inside on the chicane, thinks a little bit better of it, and lines back line astern, but that compromised his apex. Look how close Cope is able to get. He's going to have a good run here. He's going to drink to the inside, coming through Coca-Cola, thinks better of it, comes back into line, but Teddy Lowendick, sitting in his starting position of sixth, he has got to be licking his chops at this battle.
Been a bit since we've seen Cope show up on the channel. I think a few months, actually. And he's faring well because this is quite the competitive series. He's up to fifth right now. He doesn't make a move down into the Hauk Hook. I think, if my eyes do not deceive me, they're being caught as well by seventh place, James David, who is usually quick in the GT3 series on Mondays. So he might become involved in this little fracas.
Yeah, James is certainly starting to get up there if he can. We ride on board with David now. You can see him. Gap up ahead for David is only about a second, so he is certainly close enough to try to make this interesting.
And if they keep fighting the way they have, it'll be a lot easier for him to close the gap, although he's pushing hard, taking every inch of track on the exit of Ford. At the top of your screen, you can see that Cuero just set another fastest lap of the race. He continues to pull away from everybody in the field.
Yeah, just absolutely dominant. He is about 5.8 seconds ahead, and really and truly this GTE battle, the finest racing on track at the moment.
little bit of a look from Russo, but still nothing serious on O'Donnell lines. Maybe he can get something into the chicane this time. He thought about it last time. Oh, no, definitely not. That was a horrible exit.
Yeah, you don't really want to run off into the grass there. It'll just spin the tires a little bit. You'll be at massive risk of losing the car. Is Russo still just trying to find a way? He's got a little bit of a healthy breathing room when they came into braking back to Thomas Cope. But Cope in that Porsche looks like he's able to close the gap ever so slightly when they get onto the binders.
That'll be an important note for him. Hope he's paying attention. Down towards the Howell Cook. Yeah, once again, they're just spreading apart, so I fear there might not be the opportunity they'd hope for into this corner, although Russo, and a lockup from Cope. He holds it together. That seems to have distracted Lowendick, who goes wide through the first corner.
Yeah, a little bit of accident fixation there, I think, for Teddy. Just lost track of his apex, and also he may have lost completely sight as that brake dust flying up into his eyes. That can really, really cause you to lose everything, especially with the new rendering model for smoke that iRacing has put on. But you can see in that rear view mirror there, that is James David absolutely hounding Ted Lowendick.
I'd say we can officially call them caught now by James David in that 89. Oh, and Dunnigan has had an issue at the chicane. The 899 is around. I'm not sure. I think this is it was a single car incident. Let's take a look at the replay.
So here he goes, lining it up for the chicane, gets onto the binders. Ooh, little bit of over-rotation there. That could be one of two things, Joe. It could be that he just locked up the rear brakes and that sent him spinning around. It could also be a case of him shifting down through the gears just a hair early and the car getting twitchy as a result.
Don't need to go to it. We also had an off for Lavidière and the 338 and the Dunlop hairpin. He returns to the track after losing positions. There is only himself involved in that one. As that is done again on your screen. Continuing on, but he's running in 6th, so not doing too bad in spite of a little bit of a holdup.
No, he's not, but we're going to jump back to that battle that we've seen because we have got Espinoza, if you remember, we drew a little bit of attention, took a pit stop around lap 4. He's going to start to cut his way through this battle.
So as we watch from Espinoza, there's so much more pace in these LMP2s. It might look far ahead, but I'd say, about 4 corners, he's going to be right on top of these guys.
Very much so, Joe. And as I talked about, he's not really going to gain all that much time through the slower speed corners like the Howe Cook or the Dunlop hairpin. But once they get into these fast second, third, fourth gear sweepers, that is where the downforce of these LMP2s just positively puts them in another league.
Question is, where is he going to catch them on the track? Will he have a good opportunity to try and get by, both without being held up and without interrupting this fight between these 5 cars? I don't think it's quite going to be down to Dunlop. He might get James David.
He's still going to be a little bit far back. Now, this is where it's going to be very, very tricky as they go up through the Schumacher S and the Michelin and Warnsteiner curves. Those are very dangerous areas for these LMP2s to try to go by. They're so much faster, Joe, but it's just such a high-speed corner that you really don't want to try to put anybody at risk.
As we watch from above, you can kind of see that Russo is once again threatening EJ. So the 24 is going to have to try and keep his head on a swivel, not only because he's got an attacking car within his own class, but here comes Andre Espinoza.
And that could really, really make things very messy for these drivers. I'm hoping that Espinosa is going to be able to pass them when they get onto the straight here. Espinosa takes a little bit too much curve there through the Coca-Cola corner. That may just make this very, very spicy. Yep, he's going to hatch him down to the Howe Cook. This is not going to be pretty.
Which means he's going to have to try and pass his way by these battling cars in the Mercedes arenas. Too deep in! Russo, unfortunately, I thought he was going to allow Espinosa by with his mistake, and Espinosa couldn't take advantage. Does he have to sit and wait? Yes, he does.
Discretion, the better part of valor there for Espinosa, being very smart, not going too hard through that arena section. Now they're going to come down here into the Valvoline curve. Is he going to try to make the move? No, he's going to be smart. Wait until they get out of Ford is going to be my guess. And that's when just a little bit more of that acceleration and top speed on this very light LMP2s, that'll carry him on by.
Yeah, there he goes. He gets one. I don't think he's going to get two. Yeah, EJ stays in front of him. He'll split them temporarily down through the Dunlop hairpin. We started quite late in the day, by the way. I noticed as the sun continues to set here, it's almost 7 p.m. virtual standard time, which is why it's getting a little bit dark.
It is, but these are endurance cars, so to be able to illuminate the track a little bit, and I have to say it does make for a very, very scenic view to see the setting sun coming down. Oh, everybody's seeming to run wide there, most notably Espinosa and O'Donnell Lines having a real problem. This could be a good opportunity for Russo.
Russo's got his best shot yet. He tries to get his nose in. He's given a little space at the apex, but the positions do not swap around. Russo is very anxious to make this one work. Almost gets into the bumper of that Vector car for a brief moment.
He does, and here they come back down the pit straight. Let's see if Russo will be able to do it. That was a bit of a late braking maneuver for him. He may be able to take advantage. He's going to duck his nose to the inside. Very late is Russo.
That car's not making that corner. Nope, there it goes. He's actually lucky he didn't head into the gravel and didn't lose a spot either, as Thomas Cope is already on top of him.
Yeah, a little bit too late there for Russo. You can see now he's taking a shallow line. Cope being smart, trying to set it up. Takes a lot of that curb. Kind of amazed that Porsche didn't lose a little bit of grip there, but good momentum coming out of the arena. Now this advantage may be back to Thomas Cope as they go down into Valvoline.
No, but Cope touches the grass, and he spins. Oh, a crucial mistake there for the 13, and all the positions that were behind him easily fly by.
Riding on board here with Cope, you can see him. He just wanted to try to maximize the track here, get a little bit of it. Oh, Joe, that's just a couple of millimeters off into the grass.
That is unfortunate. But the good news is the Espinosa has now gone by all of our GTE cars, and he's back with his class, but he's about 45 seconds behind, and I'm pretty certain he'll still have to make one more stop before this is over. Now, we have a bit of a battle here, although I think Caraballo may have just recently made the pass, getting by Ben Lafter on his way back through. I'm double-checking to see if this happened recently. It did a little bit. I don't think we'll be able to get the replay, though. It was down through the chicane. Again, Caraballo kind of shoved off unceremoniously on the first lap, but hard to tell who's at fault on that one. Now, Lou Barretto, let's see, he's lost some spots. What happened here?
I'm going to jump back here and check out the replay as he dives in. Ooh, little bit of contact there, sending the red Ferrari spinning around. Barretto able to gather it back under him. Doesn't look like he's got a whole lot of damage to the back of the car, but that certainly puts him down the order. He was having a good race, running up much higher than that.
Yeah, that was Moraes in the 93, the blue and white car that gave him a punt. And I'm sure there'll be some words about that one afterwards as the Brazilian keeps going. Not really a whole lot happening in our LMP2s, but I can tell you that Quero still is leading. Let's take a look at third here in the GTEs once again. EJ has survived all the chaos that kept happening around him. So did Russo to an extent, though not completely clean in all that's been going on. But they're the only two left out of a train of 6 cars that were fighting before.
Yeah, everybody's seeming to make little mistakes here and there. The latest of that, actually, James David making a little mistake coming out of the Forge corner, and that allowed Ted Lowendick up into 5th. But this really proving to be a race where you just got to run a good, clean lap, and that's going to get you farther than any sort of aggressive overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate that attrition would play a role in today's race, but apparently it does. It is I guess everybody's still trying to get used to one another in this new format as Russo has another great run, but this time EJ covers him off.
Covers him off well, doesn't really sacrifice too much apex speed there, so good job for EJ. This is where being a newcomer to the series does come back to bite you a little bit. If he hasn't run a lot against Russo, he won't know his style as well, and he won't know exactly what to defend. But I have to give massive credit here to EJ O'Donnell Lines, just driving an absolutely sublime defense.
Down into the Howe Cook one more time, both of them clipping that apex nicely. But they're about to get lapped. That's Mauricio Cuero that you see flashing in the screen behind them. The 79 coming through for the first time to try and overtake this battle between P4 and P3. Ooh, a bit of a slip up, I think, from EJ coming out of the Mercedes arena. That's not good.
Ever so slightly, that may give a little bit of advantage here to Russo. There goes Cuero very quickly down on the inside.
And that cost a lot of time for Russo. You can see how much farther back he is now, just from having to let our leader, overall leader, through. But at least they don't have to deal with him, but they do have to deal with more of our LMP2s that should be coming through momentarily. Granted, it's about 7 seconds back between Cuero and Nunez, so they get a brief respite.
And they'll be very happy to see that. It's one of the most frustrating things in the world when you're driving as a GT driver to see those LMP2s coming through, especially in moments like we just saw with Russo and O'Donnell Lines there. Just, you want to be able to make the move, but you know, you've got to respect the blue flags. It's such a tricky fine line to run between.
So they spread apart, and for a little moment, Lowen Dick was somewhat under threat from James David, but they also got split up by traffic. Nunez was going past them. Oh, but we got another mistake. Lowen Dick spun his tires coming out of the final chicane. Is David going to have a shot down into the Howe Cook? If he gets a good enough exit, it is possible.
Joe, I think David may have gotten onto the throttle a little bit early coming through the Coca-Cola curve there. And as a result, he had to lift coming out of the corner, just suffering from a little bit of understeer, not close enough to really have enough of a look into the Howe Cook. But now with Ooms coming up behind him, that could throw another spanner into the works, and he could be looking at an overtake here if he plays this right.
I need to check deep in my stats. Unfortunately, this is going to put David off the racing line a little bit. But I'm trying to remember how many seasons it's been since we've seen Ooms, because it must be something close to a year, I want to say. And he certainly was a winner in multiple weeks, and very much a hot shoe, doing a little bit better in his race pace in his qualifying race here today. He was quick in the warm-up as well. See if he can improve upon that qualifying and maybe get himself a little closer to the leaders, because right now he is still about 13 seconds behind Cuero. So even though he's on the podium, it's looking a little bit unlikely that he could take a win today. Just in front of that, oh, side by side, and almost a slip up there from EJ. It will stay in his favor as he keeps third place, but Russo actually managed to get door to door with the number 24.
And that's exactly what Rafael wants to do. He just wants to get into that Bimmer driver's head as much as possible. There you see the 07, that was Nunez coming by through them. Oh, and here comes the first of our GT pitters. That is O'Donnell Lines coming into the pits.
This makes sense to me. We are past halfway. If EJ feels like he's getting held up, this is a good shot to try and get a little bit of clean air and get ahead. Has there been anybody else with a scheduled stop? We know Espinosa's been in, but I'm not seeing any others. Jennifer McDonald is showing as having a 7-second pit stop. I'm not sure that that's actually a scheduled stop. Let's see what O'Donnell Lines does here, if that gives us a frame of reference. Okay, so yeah, that might be about what we're looking at. 8.7 seconds for EJ.
He's going to be out and on his way, and no tires here really taken in this series. These tires on these GT and LMP2 cars, they are designed to go the long distance, but we've got the first of our LMP2s pitting. That's Ben Laughter.
Georgia driver trundles down the lane, coming in from towards the back of the field, so this could be a ploy from him to try and take a few spots as he goes along. Service tends to be a little bit longer in these LMP2s, though we shouldn't see them take tires. Yeah, just a splash and go, 11 seconds, and now he is able to continue.
Well, and the reason for that is that these GT cars, they're a little bit better on fuel. They're able to make it a little bit longer, and so the LMP2s need a little bit more in the tank. Big lock up there in front from one of the GT Ferraris as Laughter gets back up and underway. He's still going to have some traffic to fight through.
A little farther down here at Barretto and Trepanier. We're going to watch from Barretto's perspective as he chases. This is for 12th position. Just in front of them, that is Laviadière as well, who could become a part of this fight, but it's a good exit from Barretto. The Brazilian could give it a shot. How aggressive does he feel like being? Almost a defense from Trepanier, but then he decides against it. Deep on the brakes, and Lou's got it.
Nice pass there for Barretto. And remember, Barretto is fighting his way back through the field after that contact and spin earlier on. So this is definitely what he wants to be doing.
And Vincent locked him up into the Coca-Cola hairpin, so he fell back after that pass as well. That behind him is the driver we just saw, O'Donnell Lines, as he's trying to work his way back through the field. Thomas Cope, in the meantime, who had a spin into this very corner, is just ahead of James David and Arnaud Genet, but he's going to be interrupted by Stacey Dunnigan.
And this battle was very, very fierce, Joe. Coming through the Mercedes-Benz Arena, they were just driving almost in a triangle formation, trying to get something by. Ooh, big lock up there for Cope.
Cope struggling a bit today, it seems. A few critical mistakes from him, as Garcia now trying to patiently wait through the Schumacher S's. Now he gets through. Behind him, James David and his teammate Arnaud Genet can't quite take advantage. And up at the top of your screen, another fastest lap for Mauricio Cuero as his fuel burns off and the car becomes lighter. Oh, big off track from David that time.
Yeah, that's not going to help him, and I think that may give a little bit of advantage here to Arnaud Genet. It looks like David was worried about that attack. He got over to defend the line, but Genet going to tuck back in to behind him. Oh, look at that run off the exit from David.
He was on that one, and I think, yeah, it looks like O'Donnell Line's teammate, Ted Lowendick, is on pit lane. Ted was running quite well. I believe he was in 5th place before this stop. So where is he going to cycle back out? Is he going to be ahead of EJ? No, I think EJ is going to go past him. Yeah, EJ is already going by right now. Lowendick finishes and works towards the exit cones. So the 24 is still our highest bidder. It's now 15 minutes left to go. We are into the final third. We should see most of the cars elect to come in and pit soon.
I would have to think so, Joe. And Cuero here probably going to want to pick the best time to do it if he can. He wants to find a spot where he's able to get a good, clean outlap, not be running into a whole lot of traffic, and then dive on in. Looks like he's not going to take it on here soon.
I think Philippe Mignon also taking service from the back of the GTE field. To be fair to Mauricio, though, it's 12.6 seconds back to Ronnie Nunez. He's been schooling this field.
Yeah, he really, really has. Just putting on an absolute masterclass. The Punta CL Racing driver definitely picking up where his team left off last time out.
All right, who are we going to have that decides now is a good time to come in? Caraballo, actually. This 278, who was running in 8th position, though he had gained a position from Ben Laughter and Andre Espinoza taking their pit stops already, so not sure if that's legit. I guess we'll find out in maybe about a minute or so once those two cycle around.
And Joe, that's Thomas Cope coming in behind him. That is currently your highest placed GTE driver that's going to be coming in. We'll have to keep an eye between him and O'Donnell Lines to see who's able to take the advantage out of that.
Oh, Ted Lowendick just spun. I saw him getting overtaken by cars, and I wasn't sure what was going on. Actually, no, he was trying to make an overtake on Jerome Bertome. Can we get a replay here on the 72 car? Yeah, you can see he was attempting the pass. Oh, he took too much curb. So in his hastiness to try and get past cars that have yet to pit, he may have cost himself more spots.
I certainly say that is fair, as he has come out now that everybody's starting to cycle. He's back in 16th. He is a fair ways back right now from guys like O'Donnell Lines, multiple seconds back.
I'm watching through our LMP2s and still not seeing anybody coming in. Oh, Caraballo must have some sort of penalty that he's serving, because he's been in for nearly a minute now. So I think he either is there taking his service and serving an incident penalty, or he is he had a speeding penalty, or potentially he had some damage that we didn't see.
Well, you've seen just how much these drivers are clattering over the curbs here, Joe. It can be very abusive to the undercarriage of these cars. I wouldn't be surprised if that may be what's going on here with Caraballo, that he's got a little bit of under tray damage, and maybe that's what he has to get repaired.
Yeah, and he did have that escapade off track, so that could have done it. As this is Trepanier making sure to let O'Donnell Lines go through. Vincent still hasn't stopped, and he's still not going to stop this time but the BMW of the number 24 is up into 11th, still our highest pitter in his class. Boy, I think Moises is having to deal with some damage, because it's now up to 2 minutes. He's still in pit lane. That's way too long for any sort of penalty.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is. And really and truly, when you're dealing with that underfloor damage, you can't tell with the naked eye. So wouldn't be surprised if that's it.
Oh, Nunez is in. So some of our top runners in the LMP2 class deciding it's time to pull the trigger. Ooms does not. Duino does.
So starting to see a little bit of split strategy here from these LMP2 cars. You can see here Nunez just lining down pit lane, waiting for the time to pull into his own box. There you see Moises still stationary on pit lane as everybody else starting to come in.
Only two, though, I think. It looks like Leighton, Dunnigan, and Garcia have not, so they're all going to cycle by. But Laughter's nowhere near catching up to these two with their pit stops. They should be back out well before that. In fact, Nunez already returning in 6th place, and Duino follows suit in 7th.
Wow, talk about a splash and dash there. As there's Kwok Min going by. Duino is going to be coming out. He will exit the pit lane inside.
Russo and Skorek are in. Sorry, two of our front runners in the GTs. James David also pits. And Michael Ross stays out. So that was our leader and our 3rd place driver, I believe, that just pitted.
Yeah, that's correct. David's teammate as well, Arnaud Genet, coming into the pits. Luis Pime Jr. and Iago Morris are all coming in as well. So a lot of these guys all choosing to make their pit stops here on lap 18.
And O'Donnell Lines goes by. He passes David and Genet. That'll put him back into 5th, but it appears that he is about 5.5 seconds behind Rafael Russo. It doesn't seem like that ploy worked for him.
No, it did not. It looks like that undercut not having the effectiveness that O'Donnell Lines was hoping for, and also that slide's not going to be very effective for O'Donnell Lines, but good of him to catch it coming out of the arena section. He now has just got to try to focus ahead. He's got Cope only about 3 seconds behind him.
Only 2 drivers that managed to go to lap 19 for our GTEs is Ross and Langlois. And that is a lapping LMP2 David Duino going past Ross. think Ross just announced on the radio he's pitting in this time, and there's the confirmation.
So he's going to bring it down to pit lane. He's got a big advantage back to Langlois right there. Not sure how he's going to come out in relation to Rafael Russo, though. It's going to be very, very tight.
Let's not forget about Skworek here. It wasn't crazy far ahead. He's the highest bidder naturally right now. Ross still taking service out of the Coca-Cola hairpin. Ross still stationary. Skworek going by now, and yep, it's going to be an easy pass. Ross eventually gets out to the track, classed by, and it's not going to be anywhere close to him.
And in counter to that, Ross can take a little bit of solace. Rafael Russo is just now starting to break for the Haug hook, so Ross able to continue to hold that second place position.
Leader in the LMP2's pits, Mauricio Cuero, as Jeffrey Ooms also follows. Leighton is so far back, he's still getting up to the chicane right now, despite running in third. Let's see, Nunez was in, I believe he was in second, wasn't he, before these pit stops? So
he
was,
and Leighton's going to go around for another lap, Joe.
Ooh. Very light on the fuel. Dunnigan cannot. Garcia cannot. So only Tianzai Leighton will be able to make it to the end of lap 22. Cuero is easily out in the lead. Didn't even lose the lead, despite Leighton staying out and pitting one lap later.
Oh, and that is Nunez coming into the back of your screen right there. So Jeffrey Ooms able to stay. Oh, but he spins it out into the Haug hook.
Oh, he could have had the spot, and Ooms gives it up. So let's watch a replay. Again, so easy to get distracted. Of course, he is coming out on tires that have cooled down a little bit. Yeah, oh goodness.
Yeah, it just looked like a situation where he was focused about 3 corners up the road and was braking with a little bit too much force and turning that wheel a little bit too much. Rear tires locked up, and that just caused the car to do a lovely little pirouette.
He's obviously not in touch with his chi that time, but he'll keep working on it. He's got 6.5 seconds to get back up to Nunez. You never know what'll happen in these final 6 minutes. That means once we get Leighton in, that is everybody in the field finished with their scheduled stops, and we can kind of give you an update on where everyone sits.
And I will say, just doing a little bit of math here with Tianzai Leighton, I think he will be deposited back out around 5th place, around somewhere in between David Duino and Stacey Kyle Dunnigan there, as we watch Leighton coming in right now from 2nd place.
Which would be a good day for Leighton because he qualified in 10th. So he'll have made up a number of spots if that's the case. Obviously, nobody else coming in behind him. So Nunez coming through Coca-Cola is out and going. Oh no, Ooms is back in. Ooms is back in for a second pit stop. Is this going to be a drive-through? You know, I wonder if it might be, but since he had that spin.
That could have gotten him up to that 10-point incident limit. We'll have to keep an eye on that, see what he does. Could also be a pit lane violation as well. We'll have to wait to see until he comes out. We watched Tianzai Leighton. He's going to come out in 4th with that Ooms pit. Yep, that's a drive-through penalty for Ooms, Joe.
Wow. And Ooms even falls to 6 as Dunnigan goes by. That was a costly error. Garcia as well, 7th place. 3 spots just from that one little slip up. And he could have been in 3rd place instead.
He could have been. And Joe, we talked about it in the pre-race of just how low of an incident limit that 10 limit penalty count was. And it's catching out its first victim here in Jeffrey Ooms.
Incredible. So that might be a storyline throughout the season. Who can manage to avoid falling victim to that strict limit they've got this season? He's right on the back of Garcia in the meantime, and he should have better pace, theoretically. Let's see if he can do it quickly.
Well, he's got very, very good run through the hairpin there, but had to back off a little bit on exit. It looked like Garcia was just a little bit later on the throttle than Ooms would have liked him to be, but here he goes. He's going to line it up, try to do that. That's David Flanagan in the Corvette up ahead of them. That could maybe create an opportunity here for Ooms if he plays his cards right, but Flanagan does the good thing, gets out of the way.
I do have to admit that the traffic management in this second season with the multi-class for the Tuesday night series looks like they've really gotten a handle on it. I've seen a lot less in the way of miscommunication and drivers getting frustrated with one another.
Very much so. And comparatively, I will say, even last season, although we did have our hairy moments, compared to what you normally see when these LMP2s and GTEs get on track together, everybody behaved themselves quite well, and that is a massive testament to the Precision Racing League for putting this series on.
Zoom's going to get a shot here. Not quite. I think Darjetin finds himself a little bit of a pick, but Ooms can't capitalize, and Garcia remains in P6. He's going to run out of laps unless he starts to hustle. It's only 3 minutes left. I'm trying to figure out where is Cuero right now. He's coming through, so we're at 2 laps to go.
Well, looks like Garcia may have a little bit of a run. We watch Cuero here as he makes his way around on that long backstretch, diving down into the chicane, but Ooms, here you can see he is very, very close. Is he going to have a look into Dunlop? No, not a real one.
Got his nose in there and then pulled back out of it. So where can he finally make it stick? Can he actually make it stick? Our leader just crossed the line, and I can confirm it is 2 to go. Next time for these pair that we are watching on screen.
And Joe, watching as they go around, it looks a little bit like Ooms is just not quite on the top of his game through that middle area of the chicanes. He's able to catch up a lot on the straights here, get very, very close with the help of that draft. Oh, a little bit of a bump there as Garcia had a bad run out of the chicane.
I think Ooms is getting frustrated now. Pulling some silly moves here, just braking too late into the corner, and look at how much it cost him. He falls back once again. If he would have set up the exit, he probably would have had an easier time.
Certainly would have, but he's going to have to do it all over again here. Ooh, bit of a lockup there for Garcia. That's going to allow for Ooms to start to get on the attack here through the arena section.
Once again, falls back in line, though. Garcia doing a great job managing this attack as the 97 has better pace from what we can tell. It's just he can't do anything with it. It is a track known for being tough to pass on, so he's using that to his advantage, and Eduardo, if he can just keep with it, can salvage something. Remember, he started on the front row. Unfortunately, problems on the early laps sent him down the field, and he's only been able to recover to 6th.
Indeed, there they go, though, coming out of the chicane for the hairpin for the penultimate time. Again, it looks like Ooms just not as confident as he would like to be. I think that was Garcia catching a little bit of grass there on the exit of the Schumacher S. They're going to line up now into Michelin. Let's see if Ooms can reverse the trend and stay nice up behind him. But again, there through Warsteiner, I just doesn't look like he's got the speed.
It keeps falling back off of him and not staying tight to that rear wing exactly when he needs to. Maybe this traffic will help a little bit here. Can he catch him napping? First one's going to go through as Garcia finds an opening. And now Ooms through as well. We are on the white flag lap as they cross the line. Cuero already took that himself. Still not close enough. This is where he needs to be, right on top of him. He doesn't care. He's going to send it anyways. Can he actually make the corner, though? Swinging wide to give him space. Garcia eventually lets him go. Ooms aggressive, but he made it stick.
That was an incredibly late maneuver there from Jeffrey Ooms. And I have to give credit to Garcia. Garcia didn't try to chop him. In fact, he ran a little bit wide there just to make sure that nothing happened. That's good respect between the two drivers, although Garcia, I think, is going to be kicking himself a little bit for making that a hair easy on him.
Mauricio Cuero comes back with a point to prove as he navigates the final chicane one last time. He gets ready to accelerate out of Coca-Cola hairpin. The number 79 is going to take victory here in Germany.
An absolutely electric victory for Mauricio Cuero. Never really in doubt during the course of that race. Here is your second place LMP2. That's Ronnie Nunez.
Great run from Ronnie, going from 4th to 2nd. Squirrek is unchallenged at the top of the GTE field. In fact, he's got to go around a whole other lap as he was just ahead of those drivers. Let's go to Dunnigan and Ooms. Ooms could maybe snatch one last one and get into the top 5 here. He was catching incredibly quickly on the 899, but all Stacy has to do is accelerate smoothly off the final hairpin, which he does. So he'll retain that 5th place. Poor Jeffrey Ooms. Man, his own worst enemy today. As Squirrek now takes that Ferrari through the Schumacher S's and then towards the Michelin and Bilstein corners. He does still have Michael Ross and Rafael Russo on the same lap. I think O'Donnell Lyons as well, but neither of them really close enough to be a threat as long as he keeps it on the black stuff. This one's wrapped up.
Fairly easy to say so. He's just got a couple more corners to get through here. Up ahead of him, that is a lapped car. I believe that is Kwok Min in the other Ford that is out on track. So here he comes out of that final Coca-Cola curve for the last time, and Don Squirrek crosses the line to win the first race out of the box in the GTEs.
Another driver coming back and showing he's still got it. Looks like Ross going to take 2nd with Russo in 3rd. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results, so don't go away. We also will have driver interviews here soon. Welcome back to the Nürburgring. The first round of the PRL Sportscar Series wound up going to Mauricio Cuero, who had missed out on a championship before. Can he manage to come back and finally put himself on top? This is a good start to it. Ronnie Nunez, who got involved in a little bit of an incident early on, still finished in P2 with David Duino. finishing third from ninth. We didn't really cover that a whole lot, but he came up through the order in a big way. Tiansi Leighton did as well, going from 10th to 4th, and Stacey Dunnigan from 11th to 5th. Then behind them, Jeffrey Ooms ran into the incident limit and had to take an extra drive-through penalty to finish him in 6th, ahead of Eduardo Garcia, who was on the front row when this thing kicked off and wound up in 7th. Andre Espinoza was 8th, and Ben Laughter wound up in 9th.
Don Squirek was able to come home in P1 in that GTE category. He led for most of the race, but not nearly as dominant as Cuero up front. Behind him, Michael Ross and Rafael Russo rounding out your podium. In 4th was EJ O'Donnell Lines, followed by Thomas Cope. James David came home is 6th place in class, followed by Arnaud Genet and Jean-Claude Languan in 8th place. Ted Lowendick came home in 9th. He was running up as high as 5th, but a spin caused him to fall down the order. Diego Mores came home in 10th, followed by Gabrielle Lavidiere in 11th. Jennifer McDowell was 12th, followed by Lou Barreto in 13th. Vincent Trepanier and Patrick Arsenault in 15th. Michael Plord was 16th, followed by Jerome Bethune and Louise Palm Jr. in 18th. Marc-Andre Desjardins was 19th in class, as then Christian Eisler, you can see, had some problems, had to finish way down. David Flanagan, Philippe Mannion, and Kwok Nin rounding out those who finished.
It looks like we have our winner here in the GTEs ready to talk to us, Don Squirek. Don, it's been a minute since we've seen you racing here in the PRL, but clearly you haven't missed a tick.
Yeah, I had some hardware issues, but I think I finally got that all sorted out, so I'm back. And what a way to be back.
Absolutely. I was just about to say, so a victory. Obviously, you had some quick drivers out there competing with you, though, and they kept you relatively honest. Ross only 5 seconds behind at the end. Did you feel in control of this race, or was he pushing you the entire way?
I was just kind of trying to keep it nice and easy, avoid the off tracks, because there's only 10 allowed before penalty here in the series. So it's a little bit unique compared to the officials. But initially, when all three of us, Ross and Russo and myself, were all kind of grouped together, it was a bit high pressure there. Then I think somebody had a little bit of a mistake after I got Pi. And that kind of just allowed me to kind of take it a little bit more easy, but still the pressure never really let up.
You made it look easy, though, as this obviously sets you on a good path for the season, but there's still many races left. I do have to ask, since the last time you were here, we didn't have multi-class here in the PRL. How do you think it fared, your first experience in that sort of situation?
It went pretty well. I think there's only one small incident, but that was involving two LMP2 cars that were kind of fighting each other. So I had a feeling they'd be a little bit more aggressive. So I knew I was expecting the send to come. But yeah, I mean, other than that one incident, everything was pretty smooth sailing. Nobody was overly committed.
That's a good way to put it. Well, congratulations. Is there anybody that helped make this win possible today?
Oh, yeah. Got to thank Track Racer, Turn Racing, and Cranfield Simulation. Great sponsors, and can't wait for round 2.
We can't wait either. That was Don Squirek, our winner. Behind him, finishing third, DJ is caught up with Rafael Russo.
Rafael, it looked like every way we turned, you were just constantly on our screen, seeming to be involved in every battle we could shake it out. But how was it behind the wheel?
Hey guys, how are you? First of all, congratulations to Don and to Michael for the second place, well deserved. Yeah, the race was a kind of mess for me. I didn't like my performance. The quali was really good. I found a very good lap, but in the race I had an incident in lap 2 with an LMP2, which I didn't expect the dive in that turn. So I hit the car, and lose the first position. Then I got a huge slowdown at the chicane, which puts me in the 4th place behind AJ with his BMW that is almost impossible to pass on the straights. So I tried to put some pressure, commit some mistakes. Then I got lucky that he decided to pit early. Don't know why, but when he did that, I started to do flying laps to try to overtake him, and it worked. But overall, I didn't like my performance. It was unfortunately because Sebring to 12 hours, I didn't practice too much, and of course, when you didn't practice a lot, the results are not satisfied as you think could be.
I understand that, but I gotta say, man, at least a 3rd place is nothing to shake a stick at. So, you talked about how you had the incident with the LMP2 and all of that. Do you see any of those changes, any of sort of those mistakes? Do you think they're coming from the shortened time window that we're running now, or is that just kind of the way it goes?
Yeah, I didn't expect that move, so I did the apex like I were alone, so that's why I hit him, and after that I realized that it was a short race, so the guys will be more aggressive. I think in second lap, don't try to overtake me, so it was a short race. So and the drivers tend to be more aggressive, and I saw some LMP2s trying to not to lose sometimes when are overtaking us, and I think that's mainly because it's a shorter race than the previous season. But we have to adapt to that. It's normal, and let's see what I can do at Sebring.
Well, moving on to Sebring, do you think we're going to be in for a little bit more of the same, of sort of that, a little bit more of those aggressive maneuvers? Do you think the wide nature of the track maybe will calm things down a little bit?
I think I did a lot of Sebring races preparing for the 12 hours, and I didn't have too much incidents with LMP2, so there are big straights. I think will be better. This chicane in Nürburgring, he can cause some incidents as well. But I believe Sebring will be much better. We can't have that kind of aggressiveness from the driver. So it's a track that I think most of the drivers are practicing for the 12 hours. So I believe it will be a great race.
Well, we'll be watching it all with bated breath. Rafael, anybody you'd like to thank for your podium here today?
Yeah, as usual, my teammates that are practicing with me. We have 2 new ones participating of this season, so it's really nice to practicing with the guys and the team sponsors, TLTB, Think Outside the Box, and MV Pack. So, and all the drivers that share with us the feedback and practice with us. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Rafael, and congratulations again on a podium finish here today.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that was 3rd place Rafael Russo, and that's going to wrap up our interviews for this evening. So before we go, let's give a big thank you to our sponsors, of course, starting with Simulation Motorsports Affinity, who can be found at SIMMSA.net if you want to get involved in the world of sim racing. As well, don't forget about NinjaTrader, and their website is simply at NinjaTrader.com. And finally, for butt kicker products, go to thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work, including a very quickly upcoming new album on her Bandcamp. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below so it's nice and easy to find. The next race will be at Sebring. That'll be Tuesday, March 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. And in just about an hour's time, we have the Turn 2.0 Flying Huskies at Sonoma. That'll be at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.